Zimbabwe featured prominently at the just-ended Intra Africa Trade Fair, IATF 2023, which was running from the 9th to the 15th of November this year. Now, as the Southern Africa continues to position itself as an investment and trade partner of choice on the continent and globally, we are going to be analyzing the outcomes of the trade fair in the second segment. But first, we take a look at the exchange rates as of today.
Exchange rates as of Wednesday were: the Zimbabwean dollar to the USD interbank rate was at $5,755.70. The Zimbabwean dollar to the Great Britain pound interbank rate was at $7,189.75. The Zimbabwean dollar to the euro interbank rate was at $6,260.78. The Zimbabwean dollar to the South African rand interbank rate was at 0.00315 cents. The Zimbabwean dollar to the Botswana Pula interbank rate was at $429.13.
We also give you commodity prices on the global market.
Commodity prices as of Wednesday afternoon were: gold per ounce traded at $1,075.20 after it went up by 0.44 percentage points. Silver per ounce traded at $23.37 after it went up by 1.03 percentage points. Copper per pound traded at $368.50 after it went up by 0.04 percentage points. Platinum per ounce traded at $891.19 after it went down by 0.17 percentage points.
That's all we had for you in the first segment of World of Business. Do join us in the second segment, where we'll be taking a dive into the just-ended Intra-Africa Trade Fair that was being held in Egypt. I'll also be joined by Dr. Leopold Chakanyuka, an international relations expert, and Mr. Tatenda Nyachega, an economist. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the second segment of World of Business. Now, as said earlier on, Zimbabwe featured prominently at the just-ended Intra-Africa Trade Fair 2023, which was running from the 9th to the 15th of November. It was concluded today. I am joined by Dr. Leopold Chakanyuka, an international relations expert, as well as Mr. Tatenda Nyachega, an economist who will shed more light on the takeaways from this conference. Gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Thank you for inviting us.
Now, let's get straight into it. What is the significance of Intra-Africa Trade Fair to Zimbabwe? I'll start with you, Doctor.
The thing is, if we are looking at Africa with a 1.3 billion people, right, and an economy that is at about 3.5 trillion, and also the coming in of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, we have an opportunity or a wider market to trade with. And of course, this year's fair is actually an opportunity for us to market our country, considering the fact that we have about 75 countries that were exhibiting, and with exhibitors that were above 1,600, which means we had an opportunity as a country to market our products and also to lure investors. Remember, the president has always been saying Zimbabwe is open for business, and we have been trying since the coming in of the new dispensation to attract foreign direct investment. So this is an opportunity which has been created by the Afreximbank and the African Union, so that we get an opportunity as a country to interact with possible future investors, and also for our own investors to look for opportunities outside of Zimbabwe. So it's really an important platform which is beneficial to a country as a whole, and also to individuals, because it also, you know, goes to the employment creation and also the growth of our industries.
Okay. So now, Dr. Chekanyuka touched on the international space of this conference. Coming to you now, Mr. Nyachega, how does this benefit the Zimbabwean economy?
So this is an opportunity. I think the whole idea about having this trade fair, you discover, as Doc have highlighted, that when you talk of this trade fair, it's one of the top events that we have within the region, and which have been meant or facilitated to promote one, investment, then secondly the issue of facilitating trade amongst or within the region. So recently, I think we have had more countries, or if not more than 80% of the countries subscribing to the African Free Continental Trade area, which is, so having these platforms, they actually enhance, or they give us a leeway towards having a one common Africa with one market. And so that's that. When you look at it, Zimbabwe being part of it, then it means that gives us a leverage in terms of the market. I think he highlighted that we've got over 1.4 billion in terms of the people that are in Africa. That's a huge market that we need to tap on. And we also need to diversify in terms of our businesses, in terms of our investment. So having such platforms, it also gives an opportunity to Zimbabweans to also diversify in terms of their investment, in terms of their business, as well as the market that they have at their disposal.
Amazing. Now, Zimbabwe has been part of this conference for years now. How can we take advantage of that and make sure that we exploit it to our advantage?
Yeah, of course, this is the third edition, I think, of the fair. As I have said, you know, we as Zimbabwe, I think, you know, one interesting thing that I think we have been saying and we continue to say, that the president has said, right? So we are saying, we as a country, we do have a responsibility to build our country. But in as much as we are building our country, we also belong to a continent that is Africa. So within that particular continent, we have benefits that comes by being part of the African continent. So that becomes one of the platforms. So what we are going to do moving forward is, remember, I was also reading reports that the president was aiming at signing deals that were amounting to $20 million. So we are saying these are platforms and opportunities that are coming for our country, and we are trying to promote investment. And look at it this way, that we also have industries that have been operating. Talk of Manidze, for example. It's a huge industry that is going to produce quite a lot, and we need market, not only in Zimbabwe, but we need market outside as well. And we also have a large amount of deposits in terms of lithium, and we still want to see foreign investors also coming and make investments in areas that perhaps we might not have the capacity to do investment on our own. So these are the platforms where we go and preach to outsiders that we are indeed open for business. And it's a good thing that in a Zimbabwe head was represented by the president, unlike many other African countries. So it gave us an opportunity to deal with policy issues that we are able to attract foreigners so that they can actually interact with the president. And the president gives them the highest assurance that they need.
Good thing that you talk of that. You have talked of the Manise plant. It needs the market even outside of Zimbabwe. Coming to you now, does Zimbabwe have what it takes to contain this platform that we have?
All right, thank you. So my take in terms of our preparedness, I think we've got lots of platforms that exist at international level as well as at regional level that we can tap in. But in terms of being prepared as a nation, I think we still have got some areas where I personally feel that there's still room for improvement. One, if you are to talk of trade facilitation, one area that we need to improve on is you need to improve on infrastructure. We still have a lagging or a gap in terms of our infrastructure, because if you are to talk of successful trade facilitation, then we need to have a reliable infrastructure which is in place. Then secondly, we also need, I think of late, we are coming just post-elections. We also need an element of political stability. We also need some policy consistency. So I think that those are the areas that I feel when you look at Zimbabwe as a country benefiting in such platforms as they just ended trade fair, then we need to also work our way towards improving in those areas.
But Doctor, do you agree?
I think no. I actually differ with him in some areas, especially in terms of are we prepared?
Yes.
I think Zimbabwe is quite prepared.
Okay.
Because when you look at when the new dispensation came, there is a form of stability in terms of politics, right? And in terms of policies. There's actually been a stability. That's why you see there's been an increase in terms of foreign direct investment coming to Zimbabwe, right? It's because of the confidence that people outside of the country do have in the administration under the Second Republic. That's the first thing. And then when we go to issue of infrastructure development, I think we have done remarkably well, more than a number of other African countries. When we talk about the infrastructure that has been done or that has been constructed over the past 5 years, it actually clearly shows a country that has the capacity and that is able to tap into the African market. You look at the Beit Bridge Road, it's now over 70%, 80% actually completion. And when you look at the dams that have been constructed, these are infrastructures that have been put in place so as to attract investment to come into the country.
So now we have said that this is the third edition of the IATF. And Zimbabwe will ride on the success recorded at the previous exhibitions held in South Africa, where the deals worth more than 15 million United States dollars were concluded. This year, the ultimate target is 20 million United States dollars. Is this attainable? Let's start with you.
All right. I would say this is attainable, and there are a lot of factors that come into play. The first aspect being sometimes it's just a matter of numbers. How many delegates, how many businesses are you bringing on board? Because the more you increase the number of participants during the fair, then it means you are also increasing the opportunities in terms of investment and the deals being brokered during the fair. Then the second aspect that I will speak to is with regards to the issues of quality in terms of the products and services that we are offering. The moment that you create or that you produce quality goods and quality products, then it means then you are also increasing your market share within the region. And also that will attract investors coming into the country.
All right, Dr. Shakanyuka, is the international space ready for the Zimbabwean market?
Yeah, of course, the readiness of international market is not determined by us per se, but sometimes it's determined by the circumstances that do exist in those other countries. Because sometimes the countries do have different relations with countries. Remember, Zimbabwe is a country that is under economic sanctions, and that is a fact, right? Which means we have a limitation in terms of how we can trade with outsiders because of the impact of sanctions. But I'm happy because the African continent seems to be committed to making sure that they work with Zimbabwe and they are accepting.
Now, for those countries that we have good relations with, does our market produce enough to supply them?
No, of course, in terms of producing enough, we are work in progress in terms of trying to recapacitate our industries so that they are able to produce enough to export. But what is important at the moment is, because we are building our industries, right? So we need the technical expert from outside, and we also need resources from outside, because we are not able to produce certain resources in here. So at the moment, we are, of course, buying from outside so that we can be able to produce on our own. Look at what we were able to do in terms of agriculture. Of course, this year we might have challenges because of the rains and so forth. But over the past few years, we have been doing remarkably well in terms of producing. And I was also reading that the Minister of Agriculture was actually, Zimbabwe become a party to the 4 countries that want to produce agriculture for the whole of the African continent. So it's possible that Zimbabwe can actually, especially in the area of agriculture, produce for the whole of African continent.
I know we have a lot of things to talk about on this issue, but thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming through to the studio to help us discuss the Intra-Africa Trade Fair, which has just concluded. Thank you so much for coming through. That brings an end to the second segment of this program. Join us in the third segment where we give you the Entrepreneur of the Week. For now, we take a short break. Welcome back to the third and final segment of World of Business, where we give you the spotlight to Entrepreneur of the Week. The World of Business team spoke to Mr. Vusa Chimanikire, a local youthful entrepreneur who is into solid waste management, that is recycling soap for sale. Let us hear more from Sela Marere as she speaks to Mr. Chimanikire.
Welcome to yet another segment of our Entrepreneur of the Week, and on this week's edition we're going to discuss solid waste management, putting emphasis on soap manufacturing. We're going to be joined by Mr. Vusa Chimanikire, a youthful entrepreneur who started off this company by simply collecting and selling recyclables in and around Harare. Hello, Mr. Vusa Chimanikire, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, thank you for having us.
As we start off the conversation, tell us the history behind your company and the motivation behind starting this.
The company is called Waste Made Zimbabwe. We started in 2016 as just a group of guys who were collecting recyclables and trying to sell them and find out, is there any profitability to assisting the environment, the community, and actually just cleaning up the Sunshine City. That's how we started.
Okay, so why did you decide to tap into this particular sector? Like, why not do other things? Why this?
I thought to myself, why is it so difficult for us to deal with waste, and not just in Zimbabwe, but the whole world? And I thought really long and hard and thought, okay, there's probably barriers of entry and I need to investigate those and then get over those hurdles and then tap into the opportunities. And there are a vast amount of opportunities in this space. And so it's a passion, really. It started off as a passion project of trying to clean up the environment and figure out how do we solve this problem.
So, Mr. Vusa, you started this company in 2016, and now we are in 2023, and you're a group of young people. How have you managed to keep afloat? What are some of the obstacles that you had to overcome along the way?
I mean, I think in any business, you pay what we call school fees. You have your teething days where you're learning and you're figuring things out. We've managed to stay afloat by actually diversifying our portfolio from recycling to getting into private waste collection to getting into consultancy, feasibility studies, and working with different companies and other businesses to be able to bolster our engagement in communities and deliver on our products.
So value addition is one of the elements that are going to be used to measure the performance of the manufacturing sector as we work towards achieving Vision 2030. And we can say that you are promoting green industries in a way. Can you tell us more about this, and also your opinion when it comes to the government's openness and willingness to innovations?
So in terms of promoting green industries, we are the leading company that is actually dealing with the community and with companies. We're assisting companies to become more sustainable in how they do their manufacturing process and how we follow the life cycle of a product. And that's how we got into the soap. To be able to tap into the hospitality industry, you know, that single-use soap, that soap that you use once and you never figure out where it goes in the hotel room, most of those bars end up in the dumps. So we're actually increasing the lifespan of our landfills and actually delivering soap to more and more communities in need in the country.
So under the Second Republic, there is an integrated solid waste management plan that foresees a sustainable solid waste management system. So if you look at your project, how is this transforming Zimbabwe into a clean, healthy, and friendly environment?
Our project is actually assisting with the NDS and the Second Republic Plan in multiple ways. The first critical aspect is we're empowering waste pickers and people who are dealing with waste management, some of the lowest earning people in our country. The second aspect is we're increasing the lifespan of our landfills. And so, Pomona or the landfill in Bulawayo, Rua, they're able to increase the lifespan and send less waste to the dump. And then finally, we're actually creating products that are being used within our country that can also be available for export. So I think we're also we have the capacity to generate US dollars and FX for the economy, as well as creating jobs and cleaning up our environment.
So under the National Development Strategy 1, there's a pillar that emphasizes social protection and also recognition for the marginalized. And earlier on, you did say that you are also targeting the less privileged. You are manufacturing the soap so that you sell it to the people who then donate it to the less privileged. Why did you choose that particular area?
Well, the reality of it is we've got a cholera outbreak, and there's some issues that we encounter where individuals are actually struggling to access basic hygiene. And we also had COVID and things of that nature. And we realized, look, there are people there who are getting sick each year, year in, year out, simply because they can't access something as simple as soap.
When we talk about obstacles, we also want to mention the achievements. What are some of the biggest achievements that you celebrate today when you look at your company from the time that you started until now?
Yeah, since commencement, we've done some tremendous things. We've managed to work with IOM and the UN regarding the collection of all PPE across the country during COVID. We've managed to work with the likes of Oxfam in building bin bays in Bare and assisting with collecting of waste in certain areas. We've managed to consult for Emma when there were some of the fires that were at the Pomona dump. Able to mitigate those kind of things. We've managed to work with communities and community outreach programs of collecting waste and do community collections in different sections of the country. We've managed to engage players who are in the industry, such as hospitality industry, to assist them with their sustainability in collecting, for example, soap and recycling it. We've managed to engage over 15,000 smallholder farmers who are contract farmers for tobacco in collecting the waste that they generate in that process. We've managed to launch, to our knowledge, the first hazardous chemical recovery program in the country, which we do on an annual basis for the tobacco industry. So I think we've got a lot of achievements, and there's loads more for me to offer and mention that aren't even coming to mind to date. We've also done workshops as well for multiple companies and assisted with SHE officers in helping them do their jobs even better in industry.
And what's your staff complement, and also how are you complementing the female gender? I've seen that you also work with women, which is quite interesting because women think that science is challenging. What's your staff complement, and what has been your experience with working with women as well?
As it stands currently, we have a core team of 8 individuals, 3 of which are women, actually. And then we have contract staff that range between 30 to 40. At one point, we were collecting from over 5,000 households. So we had multiple waste pickers as well as drivers working with us in that regard. Working with women has been a great experience for us. Women share so much insight in terms of the work we're doing, and they also give a different perspective. We also believe that we're a very gender-neutral office. We believe that everybody is of value, and we actually are gender blind, I would rather say.
As we conclude the conversation, now you're addressing the young entrepreneurs as you represent this particular demographic. I want you to say something to the young entrepreneurs, those that are aspiring to be where you are at this point, and those that have lost hope, that think that it's not possible to make it in Zimbabwe, and also fellow women that are watching right now when it comes to pursuing these science subjects. What is it that you like to tell them at this point?
I would say to any young person, delayed gratification is the true key to success. Don't chase quick money, put your head down, keep working, and as the times go on, year after year, month on month, you become an industry expert, you become a professional, and you learn, and eventually the dollars start rolling in. Who would have known that we could be profitable from Marara, really, from waste? But that is a niche market, and that anyone who is really passionate about what they want to do, they should really just go for it.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Chimanikiri. I'm very sure the other viewers, especially the youths, have learned a lot from what you've told us today. I mean, it has been very insightful and educative. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you for having us. This has been great.
That's the conversation we're having today with Mr. Vusa Chimanikire, who has made it clear that achieving a clean city by 2025 is very much achievable as a nation if we work together to this end. And that brings an end to this week's segment of our Entrepreneur of the Week. Be sure to join us again next week. It's now back to the studio.
Well, that was the third and final segment of World of Business that brought into the spotlight that youths are actively participating in reshaping and rewriting the entrepreneur space in Zimbabwe. That brings us to the end of this week's edition of World of Business. Join us again next week, same time. Enjoy the rest of your viewing.